You knew his face long before you knew his name. For almost 30 years, Bill Bixby walked into American living rooms and made them feel a little warmer. He was the kind, slightly nervous young reporter on My Favorite Martian. He was the gentle widower raising a curly-haired boy on the Courtship of Eddie's father, and he was the quiet, haunted scientist who became a monster on The Incredible Hulk, a man wandering from town to town, always searching for a way to stop the pain locked inside him. That last role was closer to the truth than anyone watching could have guessed. Because the man with the easy smile, the man who felt like a friend, a neighbor, the father you wished you had, was hiding something. Not a scandal, not a crime, something much heavier. Bill Bixby was carrying losses that most people simply do not survive, and he carried them the only way he knew how, quietly, privately, with his smile turned toward the camera. He would bury his only child. He would lose the woman he had married. He would face his own death while the cameras were still rolling. And through all of it, America saw only the warmth, the grief he kept for himself. So here is the question that still follows Bill Bixby all these years after he is gone. How does a man hold that much sorrow and never let it show? How do you smile for millions of strangers on the very same days your whole world is quietly coming apart? To understand what Bill Bixby hid, you have to go back to the beginning, to a boy in San Francisco who made himself a quiet promise. A promise that he would never spend his life apologizing for the dream he was too afraid to chase. This is the story of the kindest face on television and the unbearable weight behind it. He was born Wilfred Bailey Everett Bixby III on January 22, 1934, in San Francisco. An only child. His father was a store clerk, his mother worked in a department store, and from the very start, young Bill was a little different from the quiet life around him. When he was 8 years old, his father left for the war in the Pacific, and Bill was raised mostly by his mother. She sent him to ballroom dancing lessons, and before long, he was performing all over the city. At Grace Cathedral, he sang in the boys' choir, at least until the day he fired a slingshot at the bishop during a service and was thrown out. Even as a boy, there was something restless in him, something that wanted the stage. At Lowell High School, he found it. He joined the debate society and discovered he could hold a room. He could make people listen. He could make them feel something. But there was a problem. Bill's parents did not dream of a son on a stage. They dreamed of a lawyer. So he tried. He enrolled at the University of California at Berkeley and studied pre-law because it was what they wanted. He served in the Marine Corps Reserve. He did everything that was expected of him, and he was miserable. Finally, just short of his degree, he sat his parents down and asked them for one thing: 5 years. 5 years to find out if he could make it as an actor. If he failed, he would come back. He had decided deep down that it was better to chase the dream and fall short than to spend his whole life apologizing to himself for never trying. They said yes, and Bill Bixby went looking for his life. It did not come quickly. In Hollywood, he worked as a lifeguard and a hotel bellhop. Then, in 1959, 2 executives spotted him and hired him for modeling and commercial work in Detroit. There, he spent his days in industrial films, training reels, product demonstrations, small, forgettable jobs. But those years taught him the one thing that would make him a star. They taught him how to speak to a camera as if he were speaking to a single friend, how to project warmth without ever raising his voice. By the early 1960s, the small parts were adding up: Dobie Gillis, The Twilight Zone, The Andy Griffith Show. Then came the audition that changed everything. When he walked in to read for a new comedy called My Favorite Martian, the producer looked at him and told him he wasn't Bill Bixby at all. He was Tim O'Hara, the part was his. The show, which began in 1963, made him a household name. And on that set, Bill did something unusual for a young star. Instead of resting between scenes, he followed the editors and the directors around asking questions, taking notes at lunch. He wanted to learn how the whole machine worked. He was already preparing for a life beyond acting, though he could not have known how much he would one day need that work to survive. His next great role would feel in time almost cruel. In 1969, he became Tom Corbett on The Courtship of Eddie's father, a widowed dad raising a young son alone. America fell in love with the warmth between Bill and his small co-star. And then, while they were filming, Bill's own father died. He walked onto the set. The room went silent, and Bill simply looked around and told everyone they had a job to do, that if anyone wanted to talk, they could do it after the camera stopped. Private things, he said, were for private times. It was the first glimpse of the man he would become. A man who, when the worst happened, did not fall apart. He went to work, and the worst was still years away. By the late 1970s, Bill Bixby had become one of the most familiar men in America. As Dr. David Banner on The Incredible Hulk, he played a scientist, haunted by grief, driving from town to town, hunting for a cure to the rage and pain inside him. Audiences loved the sadness in his eyes. They had no idea how real it was about to become. Years earlier, the confirmed bachelor had finally fallen in love. In 1971, Bill married the actress Brenda Benet. 3 years later, on September 25, 1974, they had a son, Christopher. For the first time, the man who played fathers on television was a father in his own home. Friends said he lit up around the boy. Christopher was the center of everything. But the marriage began to crack, and in 1980, Bill and Brenda divorced. It was painful, but it was survivable. People divorce. Life goes on. What came next was something no one is meant to survive. In March of 1981, 6-year-old Christopher went on a skiing trip with his mother. There, the little boy came down with what seemed at first like an ordinary illness, a throat infection. Within hours, it turned into an emergency. He was rushed to a hospital, and despite everything the doctors tried, Christopher died. He was 6 years old. Bill Bixby had played a grieving father for a living. Now he was one in the most unimaginable way, and here is the part that tells you who he really was. He kept working. The Hulk was still filming. Audiences still wanted their gentle, smiling star. So he gave him to them, week after week, while inside something was breaking that would never fully heal. The cameras saw the smile. They did not see a father whose home was now too quiet. He thought the worst was behind him. It was not. Just over a year later, only 13 months after losing his son, Brenda Benet took her own life. The boy's mother, the woman Bill had married, gone. In a little more than a year, 2 of the people he loved most in the world had vanished. And the man America trusted to make them feel safe and warm had to walk back in front of the cameras and do it all again, as if his heart were not lying in pieces. How does anyone keep smiling after that? The answer is the saddest and the most remarkable part of his whole story. He did not talk about it. Not really. Not to the public, and barely to his friends. Those who were closest to him said his home became a kind of shrine. Years after Christopher was gone, the house was still filled with photographs of his little boy. And in his quietest, loneliest hours, Bill would speak to his son out loud, as if the child were still there, still listening. To the outside world, he showed none of it. He was never the loud Hollywood type. He didn't go to the wild parties. He often felt awkward at large gatherings, partly because people only ever wanted to talk to him as the characters he played: the Martian's friend, Eddie's father, the Hulk, and almost never as the man underneath. He had spent his life being loved by strangers who did not actually know him. What he did instead was small and quiet and kind. When children wrote him letters, He sometimes delivered his autographed pictures to them himself. The warmth on screen was not an act. It was simply all he would let the world see. His biographer would later put it plainly. Bill had an enormous ability to wall off the pain in his life, and his one tool for blocking out grief was work. As long as he was on a set building something, helping someone tell a story, the silence at home could not reach him. By the 1980s, he had become a respected director working behind the camera on shows like Blossom. And then in 1991, life asked one more terrible thing of him. Bill Bixby was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Around the same time, another marriage ended. The man who had lost his son and his former wife was now fighting for his own life, and in many ways, fighting it alone. But he did the only thing he had ever known how to do. He kept working. Even as the illness took its toll, he kept directing Blossom. On the days when standing was too painful, he directed from a reclining chair, still talking to the crew, still shaping every scene, still showing up. Friends said he eventually hired a bodyguard near the end, not to keep fans away, but to keep his own friends from seeing how sick he had become. He would carry this too, the way he carried everything. Quietly. But Bill Bixby was not finished. In his final months, he made a choice about how he wanted to be remembered, and it would become the bravest thing he ever did. In October of 1993, just weeks before the end, Bill married for the last time. He was dying, and he knew it. And rather than hide away, he made a decision that surprised even the people who knew him best. He decided to speak. In one of his last interviews, sitting before the camera that had been his shelter for 30 years, Bill Bixby talked openly about his cancer. He did it to encourage other men to get checked, to turn his own suffering into something useful. He refused to be a man who simply gave up. As he put it, "I'm not going to contribute to my own death." And then he left the world a message. He urged people to be kind to themselves, certain that kindness toward yourself would spill outward to everyone around you. It was a gentle thing to say from a man who had been given so little gentleness by life. He said he only hoped he had left behind some goodwill, because then he felt his life would have meant something. On November 21st, 1993, Bill Bixby died at his home in Los Angeles. He was 59 years old. He never won an Emmy. To this day, he has no star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. By the cold math of fame, he might be called overlooked. But the people who worked beside him remembered something the awards never measured. The boy who had played his son on television once said that Bill was the most beloved man in all of Hollywood. And now at the end, we can finally answer the question we started with. How did Bill Bixby smile through all of that and never let America see the grief? The answer is this. The smile was never a lie. It was the most generous thing about him. He had every reason to let the darkness win the loss of his only child, the loss of the woman he loved, the loss of his own body to illness. And instead, he chose again and again to give the rest of us his warmth. He carried the unbearable in private so that strangers in their living rooms could feel for half an hour a little less alone. That was Bill Bixby, not the monster he played, not the perfect father in the script, just a quiet, kind, breakable man who decided that even a broken heart could still be used to comfort someone else. And maybe that is the truest kind of strength there is.